This is the next flip. It's a 2010 1 Series up for spares and repairs. It's in dire need of some mechanical and cosmetic TLC in order to turn it into a good profit. Let's get straight to it. So I'm doing a voiceover for this because quite frankly the audio is horrendous. But anyway, I'm on my way to Bristol to check out this 1 Series that I found on Facebook Marketplace. It's got loads of scuffs, scratches, and its main downfall is the blown differential. I've already got them down to 550 quid. I don't think I can get it any lower, but I'll try and let's check it out. When I got there, it was worse than I thought it would be. Upon initial inspection, it was missing trim pieces, damaged paintwork, the scuffs and scratches, it was rusting, and generally, it just looks worse in person than it did on camera. Additionally, the grinding differential noise, it was awful. I did end up buying the car, and I didn't want to risk another breakdown, so I had to fork out 250 quid for a recovery truck back home. Not ideal, but it's better than another breakdown. So here she is, this is it, the 2010 Beamer that I've bought. As you can see, lots of scratches, lots of little bits missing. It needs a lot of TLC. You can see there it's been awfully resprayed, so I'm gonna have to polish the hell out of that or potentially even respray it myself. Same there, same there. It's just, and the wheels are slightly curved on that one there. You've got a little bit of rust up here. I mean, this car just needs a lot of TLC, apart from the elephant in the room, which is, I think it needs a new diff. So the main objective of today is to make sure that it's the diff that's whining. It's just making a funny noise when you drive it past 10 miles an hour. Could be the brakes, could be bearings. If it's not the diff, great, it will be a cheaper fix. But if it's the diff, I need to get it off, get a new one, get it on, and get it sold. So what I'm doing now is just going underneath the car, jacking it up, getting the wheels off so I can listen to this grinding / humming noise. Not quite sure what it is, but I'm going to try and diagnose it now. I had to use a pry bar to actually get the wheel off because it's so corroded on there. That wheel hasn't been off in a while. Brake pads still have meat on them, so I don't think it's that. You really shouldn't need a pry bar to take wheels off. Yeah, here we are. Same story on this side. That is so corroded. Brake pads look alright there, they've got meat on them. What I'm gonna do now is start the car, put it in probably second gear, let the wheels turn over and just see, well, listen for the noise. I'm still getting used to this push to start stuff. So at this point, I know it's the differential that's making the noise, which I suspected. And with this being an M Sport, I knew the differential final drive ratio would be different. So I used my phone camera to try and sneakily get the differential part number without removing it so I could order one straight away. I was able to find one for 170 quid. A lot more expensive than standard differentials for the 1 Series, but could be worse. I've left the WD to soak for a bit, and now I've got an E12 Torx bit. I've just had lunch. It's absolutely Baltic, but both drive shafts are out. So now I've just got to actually remove the diff itself. Also, I lied. I've got to take out these bolts first from the prop shaft. Oh dear. I'm gonna have to remove this to give me access. Ugh. So at this point, it was just a lot of rust in my eyes and my face. I was struggling for access to try and get the prop shaft off. So to make life easier for me, I decided to get the drive shafts out of the way by cable tying them up. Ugh. I've just got to get that prop shaft out, which is proving difficult. So after removing the diff to try and get better access to the bolts, it was just dangling off the prop shaft, which isn't great. So in order to remove it, I basically had to remount the diff. So all I did was just reattach the diff, put the bolts in a little bit, enough to secure it, and that held the differential steady whilst I leave it against that to pry it off, and it's just come off there. That is the annoying thing about doing these sorts of projects. You're doing it all for the first time, and sometimes it can be really testing. And speaking of the diff, there's my new one. It came yesterday evening, as well as the gear oil for it. So let's get to it then, I guess. Also, it is Baltic today. This thing stinks of oil. 3.38. The numbers are exactly the same with 3.38. Nice. So here's the new diff, and that's the fill plug. I actually don't have a socket that fits that, but I do have spare nuts and bolts. And what I've done, this is a 17mm nut, and I've just got loads of 17mm nuts over it. I'm gonna place that in there, and later on I'm gonna weld all of these together, so then I can get a deep socket on, just like that, and then crack it open. But I don't have access to a welder right now, so that has to wait till later. In the meantime, I'll put the diff in the car. That was not easy, but not hard. Diff's all in place, mostly bolted up. Just tightening these bolts now. Still haven't done this yet. What I'm also going to do is get this in now, because if I tighten all these bolts up and then this won't go in, I've got to undo all this again. So I'm going to make sure this goes in now. It's in. Usually whenever I work on the cars, I wear goggles, safety glasses, because the onslaught of rust is just relentless. Then it was time for reattaching the drive shafts. Prop shaft being put on. Time to use my brand new tool. There's a fill plug. I've a bit of lost my tool. Oh, here it is. But it works. Look at that. Now I'm going to put some diff oil on it. The moment of truth is upon us. I'm about to start the car, put it in gear to see if it makes that noise again. First gear. Didn't like that, did it? Here we go. First gear, no noise. When I had the car in the air and I started it, turned it on, put it in gear, it was making quite a weird clunking noise. But I think that's just because the brakes were binding. The brakes were binding on the wheels, especially as the brake discs themselves were loose. They might have been catching on the brake pads. So I'm just going to go for a drive and see if I can hear anything. Really have to get it up to 20 miles an hour. No noise, no noise, hell yeah. Fixed it. It's done, the car's fixed. I'm just happy. It rained overnight, so I had to try and dry the areas I was working on, which were the paint scratches and rust spots. That is where somebody has keyed the car, so it's quite a deep scratch, so I'm going to fill it in with a tiny bit of paint. These sorts of blemishes, I'm going to get a tiny bit of sandpaper, just clean that rust up and fill it in with some metallic paint too. For reasons unknown, I didn't film me painting the scratches and removing the rust, but after that I did wet sand the entire front end of the car, getting it ready for polishing, and hopefully to get the paint back up to a factory finish, or at least a saleable standard. The passenger side rear quarter panel needed addressing too. I started off with some aggressive sanding to get rid of the rust, then moved to a finer sandpaper and eventually a wet sand, in order to prep it for the filler and primer. Here we are ready to spray, but not without masking the rest of the car first. Didn't really fancy making extra work for myself. Moving on to the primer itself, I did 3 coats of even passes with half an hour to an hour to dry in between. Okay, so all the primer's on, the primer's set, I've put 3 coats on. Now it's time for Indonesia Black Sapphire. Mica, I don't know. But before I spray this whole area, well, before I spray this bit, for the whole area I'm going to wet sand at 1500 grit. Then I cover the affected area 1 spray at a time with evenly overlapping coverage, and again I used 3 coats. Looking good so far, but obviously missing that shine we so longingly desire, and that's where this comes in. Lacquer, excellent gloss retention. And again, it's probably no shock to you at this point. I'm going over the area with 3 coats of the heat gun in between. The temperature really dropped off at this point. As you can probably tell by my hat and snood, it's gotten a lot colder. But I've discovered one major cock-up that I've done. So this stuff, the clear coat that I'm using, is a 1K lacquer, and I need a 2K lacquer. So the reason the finish doesn't look good is because it's a 1K lacquer, not a 2K lacquer. Obviously I haven't polished it or anything like that, but so yeah, that's good. So as well as having to partially redo that rear quarter panel, the paint situation as it stands for the bonnet is that I've wet sanded way too much, so it's going to require a respray anyway. Can't really remember where I'm at, but what I'm going to do is just rattle can over it, because I know I've wet sanded this area. And I know I probably should do it again because it's been so long, but I'm in a rush and I can't be bothered, and I've got 3 days, so I've got to make the most of it. I'm also going to clear coat this area. I mean, you can see the difference in shine. On camera, that just looks matte black. So yeah, hopefully that should be looking like that soon. We'll see. So I only did 2 coats of paint, as this was just like a top up, if you will. I'm really chuffed with already the results. Still looks a bit whack on that side though. So now I'm just doing the lacquer over the top, and then it will still won't look great. It will look really orange peely, a lot like this here. Although it's shiny, you see the finish of that compared to that. Hopefully, with a bit of sandpaper and polishing, they'll look quite similar, which is the aim for this one as well. So yeah, let's get to it. So I decided to try a new clear coat, as obviously the last one was a 1K, not a 2K. And to start with, I masked only the front wing, just in case this one wasn't great either. And needless to say, I'm glad I did. Because look at the finish, this is awful. That is absolutely terrible. I've lost a whole day, because this is what I was planning on doing today. And I'm gonna have to sand this all back as well. So after writing off my day, as I evidently bought the wrong clear coat again, my next free day I dedicated to rectifying my blunders, which now included remasking, resanding and respraying the front wing and rear quarter panel. This side is now remedied. Doesn't look like that awful lacquer before. Get rid of this masking, mask up the whole of the bonnet and spray all of it together. This is the clear coat I'm using. I've done a fair bit of research this time, so hopefully it will give us a good result. And after 2 coats, check it out. Far from a factory finish, but for a budget job, that is not bad at all. We haven't even wet sanded and polished it yet, so it's only going to look better soon. This MOT got delayed, so now it's got an MOT on Monday. And today I've got a free day, so I'm just going to use that to polish it up, make it look nice, and hopefully do the sale advert. So at this point, I'm just washing it, prepping for wet sanding and polish, which should really bring the shine out. So this is what it looks like currently. Although it's supposed to look like that, I am starting to panic a little bit, because last time I tried to do it, I messed it up majorly. Despite my worries though, the paintwork didn't look bad. It wasn't a factory finish, but much better than the cracked, scuffed and scratched paintwork we had before. Back in the workshop, because you can't polish in the sunlight, it's bad. We've just polished this door. Look at that. So fast forwarding a bit now, instead of the differential making a noise, now it's that wheel bearing that's making a noise. So I'm going to change it, and I'm going to try and change it one day, because I need to drive to London tomorrow with this car. Let's play How Bad Is Bad. Yeah, that's bad. So already we've got a problem. I managed to get the drive shaft out, no worries. But look at that. You can probably see it a bit better now, but it's just so rusted, and it's pretty much rounding off with everything I do, so I'm just waffling and whining at this point, to be honest. So here's just a voiceover summary. The axle bolt has practically rounded off. In the end, I had to take the entire hub off to get the bearing out, and I knew it would be completely seized in there. So I took it to my work, where after a few hours of swearing, the bearing finally gave in. After that, it was a cherry on top for cosmetics, the final bit of makeup, the new kidney grille. So with the car ready for sale, I composed the advert, starting off with a chunky description as per usual, lots of details which buyers love. I also added a walk around video, plenty of photos for buyer confidence, both outside and inside. However, this time I posted the advert on Facebook Marketplace and eBay for a change. And it was a good job I did too, because just after the second week, I got my first very reasonable offer of 2.1k. Given that I'd had the car for 5 months now and I just needed it gone, I accepted. There she is, as you can see. And I've got someone coming to look at it, hopefully at 7 o'clock. I've got to give it a clean, get everything out of it, get all the paperwork, which I don't know where it is, so that'll be fun. And I've got to do that all in an hour, so let's go. There it is, ready for the new buyer. And one test drive later, it's sold for the agreed price of £2,100. So the cost breakdown. The car cost me 550 quid. 250 quid on delivery, 170 on a new diff, 24 quid on diff oil, 20 quid on the wheel bearing, 21 quid on a front lower grille, and 14 pounds on the kidney grille. In the end, I spent 174 quid on paint supplies, 5 pounds on an oil filter, and 37 quid on oil. And for the MOT before the sale, 54 pounds. With it selling for £2,100 and my total expenses being £1,340 and 76 pence, that left me with a total profit of £759 and 24 pence. If you've enjoyed this one, I've done loads of other flips on my channel, check it out.